Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the U Sports community,
a community striving to enhance youth sports.
I'm Taylor Medic.
I'm Sean Connaughton.
And I'm Matt Ma.
Thank you for joining us today. The youth sports community is proudly presented by Nuance Hockey and Ma Golf.
Nuance Hockey provides detail-driven on- and off-ice development in the Edmonton area. For more information, please visit nuance.hockey.
Ma Golf provides elite coaching for golfers of all skill levels at the Millwoods Golf Club in Edmonton.
This episode is produced by Nick Hussey of Hussey Multimedia, and hydration is provided by Earthwater. We are very excited to have Nathan Dempsey joining the community for today's podcast episode.
Nathan was born and raised in Spruce Grove, Alberta, and played his minor hockey there. He then went on to play in the WHL for the Regina Pats. In the 1992 NHL draft, Nathan was selected 245th overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs.
In 1994, Nathan joined the St. John Maple Leafs of the American Hockey League, the Toronto Maple Leafs minor league affiliate. He was later named team captain, a role he kept from 1997 to 2002. In the 2001-2002 season, he also won the Fred T. Hunt Memorial Award, which honors the player best exemplifying the qualities of sportsmanship, determination, and dedication to hockey in the AHL.
Nathan then went on to play 260 games in the NHL with Toronto, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Boston. He played over 850 games during a 14-year professional career in the NHL and AHL that spanned Canada, United States, and even Europe.
Nathan is excited to bring his experience, knowledge, and enthusiasm of the game to the students at Vimy Ridge Academy, where he is currently the campus director of the hockey program. As of this year, I have the privilege of getting to work side by side with Nathan every day. Demmer, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here, and welcome to the U Sports community. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming.
You betcha.
Well, a lot of accolades and teams going down the list for you, but let's get right back to the roots. We like to start things off with our guests. What's your earliest memory of youth sports? And that just doesn't have to be hockey.
Yeah, you give me a little warning on this, and I started thinking about it. Honestly, I think my earliest memory of my youth sports would be soccer. I remember specifically playing outdoor soccer for years, and my coach being Paul Fulham, and Paul was a coach of mine that he also coached hockey. Not Paul was the son. Is Tom Fulham. Tom was Paul's dad. Paul was a friend of mine that I played soccer and hockey with, and so growing up, Tom was a coach in soccer. He had a thick Irish accent, so he was kind of that prototypical soccer guy that kind of went along with the role that he played. But he was a tremendous coach. He kept a lot of it. It kept us having fun and inspired. And I think the most important part is just that he made it a lot of fun for us.
That's awesome. And when do you remember starting to get into soccer? What age roughly?
I remember being in grade 1, because I moved to Spruce Grove in grade 1, and I think that was the first year that I remember playing kindergarten or community sports. Was that kind of that grade 1 age? Getting involved in sports, and then of course just hockey kind of went along with that as well.
What position were you playing in soccer?
Oh gosh, I think I played around the ball. I think, didn't we all? Just 5 and you have 10 guys just following the ball around. Exactly. Yeah. I think that's kind of the way it was. I think as we got older, I mean, I played soccer as a youth growing up, but I think as we grow older, the position became a little bit more. Everybody gonna want to be a striker, but with me being a defenseman in hockey, I think I kind of migrated back and playing defense in soccer too.
How long did you play soccer for?
I played it for at least 12 maybe until I was in junior high.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So I played a lot growing up, and then with hockey, and then I also had when the Spruce Grove Links opened up in Spruce Grove, the golf course, it opened. I can't remember the year. It would have been when I was in like elementary or junior high. But I remember getting a junior membership there and playing, we'd ride our bikes with our golf clubs on there. Myself and my good buddy Andrew, who I still play golf with to this day. We'd ride our bikes there and we'd just play all day long. Nice. And I think my dad, we paid $100 for the membership. Wow. For a junior membership for the whole year. And then we just played from sun up to sundown, as long as we could as long as we could play, and kept a couple sandwiches in our bag.
That's great. Were there any sports within the school that you played? I know like volleyball typically is within the school, basketball. Were any sports in school that you played?
Yeah, big time. School sports was a big part of my life too. Just, I mean, specifically in those formative years of junior high, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9. And then I played in grade 10 school sports. And then at that point, hockey kind of started getting more time consuming, and I had to make a decision. But growing up, I played all the school sports: volleyball, basketball, badminton, track and field. Played as many as I could growing up. And then at one point, I think it was in grade 9, was able to play basketball on the Alberta Summer Games team.
Oh, wow.
Which was pretty cool, too, to get to play a different sport at that level.
Yeah. Did your parents encourage you just, hey, like, let's try whatever you like, try this year, and if you like it, keep going with it? It seemed like there's a lot of encouragement just to be active from your dad and your mom.
For the most part, my mom and dad let me choose to what I want to do, and then for me, just loving every sport and wanting to do everything I could kept them very busy. I don't know if they necessarily pushed anything on me, but I kind of pushed sports on them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wanted to play everything. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be involved with every sport that I could, and they were just very supportive of course, doing the driving and the cash that goes along with all these sports too.
Yeah, for sure. Of those school sports, so I mean, like Taylor was saying, obviously you had a big range of different activities that we're doing. Any of those school sports that kind of stood out? Volleyball, basketball, badminton, track. Any of those that were kind of a little bit more exciting to you than the others?
Well, basketball is a big one. My dad he grew up in Ontario, but they moved down to the States when he was in junior high, and they moved down to North Carolina, and he became a big basketball guy. And so basketball was a big sport in our house. One that he loved to coach, and he was a principal of a school for 30 years. He loved coaching the basketball teams in his school, and it's kind of and we had a lot. There's a lot in common between myself and my dad when it came to basketball. At the time, Michael Jordan was a big inspiration to a lot of us.
Yeah.
That was growing up, and then Larry Bird was big. My dad was a huge fan of Larry Bird. So we did a lot of his good kind of father-son bonding as far as basketball went, and then again, just his passion of the game I kind of grasped on, hold on to that as well.
And just to stay with that thought of that bonding that you had with your dad and the experience that you were able to share through basketball, were there any other sports that you guys both participated in together?
Basketball would have been the big one. Hockey, again, being that my dad grew up in Ontario, he grew up playing hockey, but when they moved down to North Carolina, there was no hockey, obviously, at that time. So we kind of lost. And I kept being reminded by my grandfather, my dad's dad, that my dad could have played in the NHL if he would have stayed in hockey.
Right,
If he would have stayed in Ontario. Of course, I think every dad thinks his son could have played in the NHL. But my grandfather was a huge fan of my dad's and thought he could have been a great hockey player. But then when of course, we moved out to Spruce Grove, the community of hockey there was a big part of it. But I loved playing all sports growing up.
Do you think that's lost maybe on today's youth? You mentioned the school sports and being able to participate on different teams. Seems there's a lot of specialization, and maybe that art of just trying out for every team, seeing what sport you can play is almost lost.
Yeah, people get so kind of focused on one sport so early, and there's so many great sports out there, and they're not quite sure on how to play them. But how do you know until you try?
Right.
I see a lot of one sport athletes, of course, being in the business that we're in. I go and I check out the phys ed time that they're doing volleyball and basketball, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Just shake my head. None of them know how to bounce a ball or chew gum and run at the same time. I kind of, I feel like a little bit of that is lost in today's youth and today's athlete, is that multi-sport and the stuff and the important parts that it can kind of create with the sport that you love so deeply, which is hockey. playing those other sports will allow so many others, not only like physical traits, but the mental part that goes along with playing a lot of sports and just taking those on to hockey as well.
Absolutely. How did you find that balance during those years when you were playing so many different sports? Did you find it a little overwhelming at times, or was it just awesome?
No, gosh, no. There's overwhelming for my parents, I think, for sure. But for me, I just you just love playing sports. That's what you love to do. I mean, we went from playing a volleyball tournament to right to the ice just to play, a hockey tournament. And there's times where we had basketball tournaments going on at the same time as hockey tournaments. You're bouncing from the gym to the rink to the gym to the rink, and you'd play, maybe 4 games in a day.
Right.
And you wouldn't think anything of it.
And you
just loved it.
Totally. And you mentioned the mental side. Did you find, looking back on that having that variety allowed you to come into that different sport when you were making that transition just super hungry and eager?
Just so enthused, and you just recreate that you miss the sport that you're going to play.
Right.
Maybe today you go from playing practicing hockey to going to a camp of hockey to going to the game of hockey.
Right.
You just don't get re-energized as much as maybe you could if you played other sports.
Right. Yeah. And the outdoor rink, was that something that really started to kind of fuel the passion for hockey and maybe contributed to hockey rising up amongst all the other things that you were participating in?
Yeah, so when we moved out to Spruce Grove, the house that I grew up in, my parents built it. And it had there's nothing in the back. There's no houses or anything built behind us.
Yeah.
So my dad built a small little rink back there. And growing up, I don't know, probably for the first 5 years of living there, before we ended up having neighbors built behind us, that outdoor rink was awesome.
Nice.
Like just a small little sheet. Like I can't remember how big it was, but it wasn't any bigger than, I don't know, probably 12 by 15, a tiny little sheet.
Yeah.
But just be able to fire pucks and do a bunch of little things and pretending that you were just winning the Stanley Cup. That was awesome growing up, and then taking that to an actual outdoor rink. Those are the greatest days. Those are awesome.
Sure.
Something that I don't know if our youth, again, talking, I don't want to sound like it was so awesome when I was growing up and not so good when now. But I think they don't get enough of that outdoor rink, and maybe just they don't have the passion to go and do it because they're on the ice maybe so much.
Right.
I think the outdoor rink's so important because you can really be creative and play, and it's different environment. You're not structured so much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the other part I really think is important about the outdoor rink is that you're playing with different ages.
Yeah.
So there's a time where you may have to share the puck with something that's a little bit smaller and a little bit slower than you, and there's times where you have to compete like a bugger
Right.
to get it away from the older guys because they don't want to share the puck as much.
Right.
But that part I really think is important. That unstructured shinny time where we're playing against all kinds of different ages and having to kind of make things work.
Yeah, be creative.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every young hockey player has that memory of imagining that they're their favorite NHL star. They're scoring the Game 7 OT winner to win the Stanley Cup. You have that ability to get creative and to be imaginative. And in a lot of structured situations, you don't have that.
And you don't have your dad or your coach leaning over the bench yelling at you for not dumping the puck in.
Right, right. Yeah.
And turning a puck over. You have like you said, Sean, you have that ability to be creative and to try things and not have maybe the only heat you get is from the older guy next to you that maybe give you maybe not give you the puck next time because you made a turnover. But I mean, you got to learn to adapt to things, and I think learning to adapt and just that resiliency that if you don't get the puck for 20 minutes, are you gonna go and cry about it, or what are you gonna do about it?
Right.
Do something about it.
Was there you mentioned going up against older guys or different skill set? Was there anyone that sticks out that you remember having good battles at the outdoor rink with?
Oh, just a lot of the I don't remember specifically who they were, but I remember being there when you're playing against midget age guys, and maybe you're a Pee Wee or Bantam player, and just how you wanted to be like them and you wanted to do stuff like them. And you would try things like that and to compete and try to get the puck away from them. I mean, growing up, we had a lot of like a really good hockey community. That in Spruce Grove that we ended up growing up again together, and I still see a lot of those guys to this day. They're still a lot of my close friends.
Nice.
So
I think that unstructured play is so important for not just hockey but all sports. Like you mentioned golf. Like golf is a junior golf or any golfer. Basically, all play is unstructured until you're in a tournament.
Right.
Like soccer, there's always like pickup games. Basketball, especially, that's where you get really creative and like learn new things, and you can try things out and you can fail, and it's not gonna really impact anything.
Big time. And like you said in those other sports, it goes back to like having to compete and to play a certain way and to do certain and to try certain things that may or may not work against older, bigger, stronger kids.
Right. And that home ODR in the backyard, were you helping build the ice at all as you got older? Was that part of the job?
As I got older, and you have to get the hose out and put the water down and make sure that it's level and all the it sure is a science building those. Like I see the rinks now that some of these guys are building are just incredible.
For sure.
But ours was pretty homemade, but like I said, like just tremendous stuff. And just the memories again, and just not just the rink that I grew up on, but the outdoor rinks is just how numb and how cold you got, and didn't really matter. Like you just it just kind of was part of the deal. Part of the outdoor experience was getting those numb toes and not feeling your hands, and just being able to find a way to enjoy yourself and just have a ball out there.
Well, I think that's the thing too, is there's typically some extra adversity when you're at the outdoor rink, whether it's the temperature. You might get the perfect day where the ice is awesome, but a lot of the times the ice is certainly less pristine than it is inside. And
especially the one I built at my house.
Right. and even if you're at the public community rink, you may not be in charge of flooding it, but you're typily having to grab a shovel and work to enjoy it, right? And there's just so many healthy things about that experience that you just can't replicate indoors.
Absolutely. No, I mean, like you bring your stick, and then I don't know who ended up bringing the shovel, but there's always a shovel that was left there.
Yeah.
Like and it was never taken or stolen or anything. It was just everybody knew that this was a shovel there that was for
the rink,
for cleaning the rink off.
How old were you when you had to start kind of helping with the rink at home?
I mean, I can't remember. Probably maybe 8 or 9.
I think it's kind of neat that I'm guessing it would have been your dad, but he kind of gave you like a role, like a responsibility, something you had to take care of at a young age, which is I think it's a really great thing to have. Yeah,
and I can remember, like, now that I'm thinking of it, I remember the point of where we kind of thought that was enough. I remember taking the basement window out with a puck. And I think that was the point where my dad's like, maybe the outdoor rink down the street with the boards on it would be better for you.
Put the net towards where there's no houses.
Away from
honestly, Taylor, I don't think the rink was big. I don't think we had a net. Like, I think it was just for me to, because just to mess around on and handle pucks, and if I'm shooting them, like I said, it was shooting them into the snowbank. And then trying to dig them out, trying to find them and dig them out after.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you find that maybe ever helped you with tight spaces in the game? Like you're just used to something like that, or is it just a way to grow up?
You think it would, like going that early? It's just that edge work that you see, like a lot of the kids working with the different apparatuses now and the stuff that goes on. Maybe that tight area kind of helped with my my agility and my ability to kind of move in small places.
And you mentioned, Demmer, your experience with older players at the outdoor rink. Do you remember any specific experiences with younger players where you had to be the leader, the mentor, and maybe, tone your game down a little bit to include them and to, make sure they still had a good time?
I love to say to Sean that I remember being that guy that said, "Hey, youngster, come along with me." But I mean, I was competitive as the next guy.
Sure, yeah.
And it was just about I was a selfish. I was like, at the time.
Yeah, competitive,
and I wanted to work on my own stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, for me as a young guy, it was about getting the puck away from those guys.
Right.
And for me as an older guy, it was like, come and get it.
Yeah.
If you want it, help. If you want it, come and get it.
Right. Lead by example.
Yeah. And that example may not have been always the most caring example, but
Pushing them.
at
Yeah.
the time you're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like as a kid that age, you're not thinking about it in that kind of headspace, right?
For sure. For sure. And who were your usual, you mentioned your one friend. Who was the usual group that you kind of went to the rink with? Was it a lot of teammates from your indoor hockey, or was it a mix of neighbors, relatives? What was your kind of usual group?
I think early on it was a little bit more of the guys that are in my neighborhood. Like we used to I remember having some epic street hockey games with kids in my neighborhood. And then as it kind of went on, I think more and more it kind of became like my teammates, and we'd go together. And I remember specifically, I remember like my friend Corey Olette and Don Dunnigan and these guys meeting at the ODR down across town, and we'd get together and we'd put the sticks in the middle and away we'd go. Right.
There you go. Yeah.
Were there a lot of you mentioned those guys? Were they also multi-sport athletes too? For school sports and everything under the sun you guys were playing?
I can't remember. There's a few like that weren't really into school sports, but for the most part, all my hockey teammates that I remember growing up with were involved in school sports.
Nice.
Whether because I went to the Catholic school, and so a lot of my teammates went to the public school, and it didn't matter. I remember playing school sports against them and being as competitive as we all were, knowing that in the dressing room later that day, you'd have bragging rights,
Right.
beat your butts in basketball today. So it was nice having that bragging tool.
And you mentioned your one coach earlier who was coaching soccer, and then I believe you said hockey as well. Do you remember what years he was coaching you in hockey and some of the things? It doesn't need to be sports specific, but some of the things that made you remember him all these years later?
Yeah, I don't. For Tom, I think it was more. I remember him in soccer, but he was involved in hockey. But I remember Paul Kussmeyer being a youth coach. That Rob was my teammate. His son Rob was my teammate, and Paul coached us for years. Probably, from ages 10 to 14, probably.
Wow.
Like just those key years were.
Yeah.
And again, he was firm, but he was fair.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. He never needed to yell, but you knew he meant business.
Yeah.
And he knew he made his expectations very clear, but he always made the game fun.
Right.
I think the communication side of things is something that he was very good at, whether it be in a firm tone or in a joking tone. But you always knew where you stood with him, and he was somebody that made the game extremely enjoyable.
And in terms of, making it enjoyable, that can obviously come in a lot of different ways. Do you remember any specific things that he did to really kind of...
Yeah, just being
ingrain that?
always really jokey and goofy, and when things were kind of tough, he knew when to be a little bit jokey about things, and when things were really good, he knew maybe we're getting too big for our britches, and
Right.
and he knew to, hey boys, be a little bit more firm. But I remember him being just extremely enjoyable on the ice. We always wanted to go to the rink.
Yeah.
And Coach Kussmeyer always made it enjoyable to come.
Yeah, that's a crucial piece for sure.
It is, and I mean, as much as he taught us things, I don't think he was an X's and O's guy. He just made it enjoyable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kept you coming back, kept you wanting to go the extra mile. Work for your teammates. Those are key pieces.
Totally key, and I think the most he wasn't we didn't have a power play. I don't remember him ever teaching us about power play, but he made it clear about moving the puck quick, moving the puck fast, and just playing fast.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean that was really a bit, and just about wanting to come to the rink and enjoy ourselves every day.
Was there ever any pressure from him as you guys got into, maybe the 14-year-old age range to start focusing more on hockey and maybe start dropping some of these other things?
Never.
Yeah.
No.
Never. Yeah.
I don't remember ever him saying that, you're playing too many sports, or you're missing too much hockey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he probably coached us at an age where there wasn't a whole lot of that. But I mean, as I got older, there was, some coaches that said, Nathan, you got to decide.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I mean, maybe they're right. Maybe I was too much, but
Right.
but I just loved playing those other sports, and I played until I had to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hockey-wise, I mean, geez, we've been talking about everything, every other sport
That's right,
but
I love it.
hockey in terms of just, when did you start discovering, like, hey, I might be good at this and there might be an opportunity, maybe not professional yet, but I can play at a high level?
Yeah, I guess I would have been at U15, which is what back then was Bantam.
Mm-hmm.
We won provincials. Our Spruce Grove won AA provincials, and we had a pretty solid team. And so a lot of our players were getting noticed by WHL scouts.
Yeah.
And at that point there's no WHL draft, so there's what's called the listing.
Mm-hmm.
So you get listed, and you'd be listed by a team, and you could get listed and dropped by a team in a day.
Wow.
Like, I don't know, it was a wild west.
Yeah.
So for every kid you listed, it took up X amount of spots on your roster. So if you listed a kid that was 14, then you ended up taking more spots on your roster than if you listed a kid that was 15. So I remember being listed and dropped, and at that point you're like you said, Taylor, you go, well, maybe people are noticing something. Maybe I'm decent enough to play another level. But that was probably the first time I kind of thought about that.
Was that correlated with starting to think about turning down at least some of the other things that you were doing and trying to carve out more time for hockey?
Yeah, so that would mean, so I think I was in grade 9 at that point, and so I played all school sports in grade 9, and then in grade 10, at that point, we were moving into high school.
Mm-hmm.
I started kind of tapering it down a little bit, and then ended up playing midget at my U18, or midget now is U18, but midget in St. Albert, because we didn't have a midget AAA team in Spruce Grove.
Yep.
And at that point, I was listed by Regina, and we ended up going to the Max tournament final.
Oh, wow.
Losing by 1 goal to Lethbridge, and
Ooh.
Stacey Roost, I still remember. Little bugger scored the game winner. But at that point, you had a really successful year, had a really solid, midget team that kind of helped me move to the next level, which would have been the Western League next.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how that transition kind of took place as you started to wind down some of the other sports? Was it, I guess, was it difficult to say goodbye to some of those, at least in the capacity that you had been playing them previously?
Yeah, you know what, Sean? Like, I think the competitor in me and everybody that's competitive understands that you always want to compete. Like, you realize, but like, to be able to go and just play a pickup game of basketball.
Yeah.
And then I played lots of that, even in junior and stuff. That we just went to play some pickup ball.
Yeah.
The fact that you knew how to play the sport was a tremendous asset for me.
For sure.
The confidence that comes along with it.
Yeah.
And to go pick up like a badminton rack and just swat a birdie around.
Yeah.
Just, and those kind of games that you can just go and play. Golf, like, not the fact that I could go and play golf with somebody's and not be a complete disaster, and
right.
I think that's important, to be well-rounded, and it just gives you confidence moving with yourself and with everything else that goes forward with that.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing too is there's been a lot of recent research about how if you specialize too early too, it can cause more injuries, and just having the repetitive motion and not being able to work the different muscles and become a more well-rounded athlete just in general too. So,
well, I think you said science I think that's kind of been a proven thing by science, and not only that, like we talked about earlier, just mentally, like just being able to just reset and get that refocus on the sport that you're about to go play.
For sure. So as hockey started to ramp up, I'm assuming some of the in-school sports were a little more difficult to stay with. But what did your summers look like still?
Pickup ball.
Yeah.
Pickup ball. I never touched the rink. I don't think in the summer. Like, I don't know the first time where I'm trying to think about the first time that I ended up going to a summer camp. Like, I'm telling you, like, I don't think I did a power skating camp. I don't not once, not ever.
Yeah.
Just because I was so busy in the summer doing other things.
Yeah.
And I think things have kind of changed, but and I think the sport of and then the individual, whatever individual sport that person's in, they've gotten so much better.
Yeah.
And a lot of it does have to do with the off-season training. Like, I think some off-season training is good for kids nowadays, but they should definitely be involved in other things. That's just no question about it in my mind.
Right.
In your, I guess, coaching now, how do you introduce other sports? Like, how often do you do that with your academy?
Yeah, so the nice thing about Vimy and the academy at the school is that we're on the ice 2 to 3 times a week, so we're not going to jam hockey down their throats. They get their typical phys ed programming. They get their basketball, volleyball, badminton, or track and field, during the year. We'll do we do spin classes. We do yoga. For instance, this month for December, just having some fun, taking them bowling, taking our hockey kids to curling, introducing them to all different sports. And I think, Sean, you mentioned it earlier, or maybe it was you, Taylor, like introducing them to these sports now, or maybe they're like, holy smokes, I didn't realize curling was so fun.
Right.
Like,
or hard.
So tell me about it. I've tried, like, I can't even stand up straight on that rink. Like you said, just introducing them to these sports where, I mean, like, these kids have to be honest. Like, they all should want to have the dream of playing in the NHL, but all of us should be very realistic on what their chances are. And introducing them to other things is just a huge part of it.
What sport do you think made you a better hockey player?
I mean, I just played so much basketball. Like a
lot of similarities.
There's a lot of similarities. I think you're right, Taylor. Is that distribution of the ball, the spatial awareness, the give and goes. A lot of the same kind of plays are made in hockey, and the fact that I think any competitive atmosphere that you can put yourself in, that is a different sport, can bring out some positives in the sport that you're kind of focusing on.
I don't know basketball very well, but I mean, I can imagine the cardio element too. Like, I mean, in basketball, you're constantly going, you're on, you're off. Like, I'm sure it's got to help with the cardio
and the
as well.
physicality too, Shawnee. And you're right, the cardio and how much you're bumping and grinding and having to find space and move and like the physicality of the sport. People don't realize. I mean, NBA is different. There's no physicality in the NBA anymore. But
back in the day, it was.
Back in the day, you guys remember when I was growing up. I mean, Michael Jordan Michael Jordan had to fight tooth and nail for every inch of court that he got. Like,
right.
Yeah, all those Detroit Piston teams.
Oh, the Bill Lambiers and the Rodman and those were epic battles they had back then.
And rotations are big too, with sharing space.
Oh, big time.
Know where your teammates are going. Just like with hockey, you're always going to rotate or do something, and you got to cover the position.
And defense and knowing to have your head on a swivel and know where other guys are and to have the help. If someone loses their check, to be able to help them out.
Right.
Like, all that stuff is just, it's huge.
Reading, reacting, supporting systems. God. Yeah, no, there's a ton of overlap there for sure.
There is.
That's great. And how about track and field? Like, track and field is something that you mentioned. It seems to be something that hockey players, at least specifically, are trying to add a little bit more into their off-season training. Getting that quick feet speed has become obviously such a big part of the game. Did you find that your track and field maybe helped you on the ice a little bit?
Well, for sure. I think a lot of us are a lot of hockey players are sprinters, which I was a sprinter and a long jumper. Those are kind of the focuses that I did in junior high at the time. But I'll be honest, my sister was really the track and field star of our family. She was a club track star, and she went to provincials a bunch of times, and she was a great athlete in track. And maybe she followed my steps in that regard, but she was a really good athlete too.
And how many siblings?
Just her.
And she was younger?
She's younger than me. Yeah.
What was the relationship like there? I mean, obviously, maybe she wasn't out the outdoor rink with you, but it sounds like she was extremely athletic. Was there a little bit of competitiveness
all the school sports
there?
with her? She played all the school sports like I did, but track again, she focused on kind of her focus sport that she had focused on, and she ran track out of St. Albert because we didn't have a track club in Spruce Grove, and she. But the relationship with us was extremely competitive. We still are to this day, just competitive or whatever we do, cards or whatever shuffleboard, or we always want to win, we always want to beat each other. But we have a great relationship. I mean, I left home early to go play away, and so I didn't get to, maybe the relationship was a little bit different.
Yeah.
But still, we remain very close to this day.
Any other sports that you guys both played other than track and field?
We both played volleyball, basketball.
Yeah.
Like she was a really good school sport athlete. So she enjoyed all those, and she tried ringette. Like, so I think with me playing hockey, she tried to play ringette, but never really got the bug. Like I had the bug of hockey. So.
Yeah, it's amazing when you have, just that opportunity to push each other at home a little bit, even though you said it was a 3-year age gap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, during certain years that's a little bit, wide, and you have to kind of tailor the experience a little bit to the
I'm sure she got frustrated quite a bit of times with me, being that 3-year age gap, and her being very competitive like I was, she wanted to beat me all the time, but that never happened that often, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. So you'd mentioned moving away. I'm assuming, but correct me if I'm wrong, that's as you're getting into your junior hockey years.
Yep.
What do you remember about that experience? That's obviously a pretty big step for a lot of young kids getting into a billet situation.
Yeah, I mean, Regina did a really great. Regina was a really great place to play junior. It's a junior hockey town. They support their junior hockey tremendously well there. Me moving there when in grade 12, so I did my grade 12 year in Regina. So I moved there when I was 17. Lived with a billet. My billet family was great. She was a single mom with a couple of daughters, or young daughters, that I think I ended up being a little bit of a role model for them as well.
Yeah.
But I had a great experience in having with my junior there. But again, moving away at that age, I mean, there's a. I don't want to say you grew up. You grew up quite fast.
Yeah.
You're not on your own. You're at a billet, but you are kind of on your own. You're kind of taking care of a lot of things and you're doing your preparation. As far as hockey goes, you do a lot of growing up. As far as what being able to prepare on your own, not being told what to do. You have to make sure you're getting your sleep. You have to make sure you're getting all the important things that go along with it. But you grew up quite fast, moving away that early.
For sure. And at that point, going into your first year in the WHL, was there any off-season? I mean, again, you're still being active. We can't understate that. But was there any specific kind of hockey training leading up to it, or was?
So I think like you say, like I said, Sean, like I think that might have been the first year where I really kind of and it was like off-season training wasn't like it is now, where it's so organized and so everybody's got their everything. But I think I played a lot of ball. I did a lot of running. I did a lot of that was kind of the first time I was introduced to Norm Lacombe, which is a guy that was doing a lot of off ice training for athletes at the time. And that was kind of the first time I was exposed to that kind of stuff. And so I think the leaps and bounds that went along with that, as far as your strength and your kind of your hockey body is concerned, and the focus on having a hockey body and the things that you have to strengthen and work on to make sure that body's good to go. Yeah. Probably a big summer for me.
Was that off-season training something you pursued, or was it something like someone give you like a suggestion, like, hey, maybe?
No, I had teammates that were kind of training along with Norm, and they kind of, you kind of just do what your peers are doing, right?
So they were doing it.
Yeah, like my dad. My dad growing up wasn't a hockey guy. Like, he didn't really know about any of this stuff. I mean, he was very supportive and he managed a lot of our teams. But as far as that kind of stuff went, I kind of did what my peers were doing.
And how did you find that first training camp away from home? Big jump, obviously, from midget to WHL. Yeah. How'd you find that first training camp?
Well, your eyes are wide open, right? Yeah. I mean, back in the 90s in the Western League, I'm going to tell you now, it's there's probably 8 fights every game.
Especially in training
camp.
Or
period. So, I mean, it was a rough league, and at that time, it was funny because teams had separate warm-ups. So one team would go out, the visiting team would go out and have a full ice warm-up.
Oh, jeez.
And then the home team would go into a flood. Then you have flood. And the reason they did that is because in PA, when I think it was Dave Manson and Kelly Chase, those guys, they during half ice warm-ups, they take the other team's net. They take the other team's net, and the other team would basically go, would warm up with no net because no one was going to do anything about it.
Right. Yeah.
So so when I got there, they had different. So when I'm like, what is going on with these separate warm-ups? I've never heard of this before. I heard that story. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So that was then. Those are things that kind of open your eyes, and you realize that you don't have to change your game, but you do have to make sure that you're getting stronger.
Yeah, for sure. Did you find that your role had to take a big adaptation that first season?
Yes and no. Like I think for me, my the way I played as an offensive guy, as an offensive defenseman, it was that's kind of how I was scouted, and that's how people expect me to play. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have to change my role too much, but you did have to make sure that you weren't the guy that was causing mayhem and then not being able to, defend yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I did have to find a way to scrap a little bit here and there. I mean, I wasn't very good at it, and I didn't win many, but I didn't back down from anything either. And I think that was important to get the respect of your teammates as well.
For sure.
Because fighting was a big part of the game, then did an elder kind of take you under his wing and show you how, or how did you just figure it out on your own after you
Frank
take a couple
Kovacs
lunches?
was the captain of the year, my first year, and he was always giving us pointers on how to tie up, especially tie up, because if you're the guy that you're not going to beat, then you got to make sure you're not getting too many punches in the face.
Yeah,
because that hurts quite a bit. But I'll tell you an interesting story. My first WHL fight was a line brawl. And I got paired up against the guy that with me not knowing it, was a Golden Glove boxer.
Oh boy!
So I was getting destroyed, and he was moving me over to their bench. So not only was I getting destroyed, but I moved over to close to their bench, and their bench was holding me back.
Oh no!
From the bench. And so all I could do was move my head up and down, try not to get as little as possible in the face. And I could tell you, I couldn't put my helmet on the next day.
Oh.
There's so many welts on that thing. So that was a good eye opener for the first Western League fight, and I knew then it's like, wow, this is a different beast right here.
Totally. Did you find that, like you said, you have to get bigger and stronger? Did you find that was like just a really big part of the eye opening experience, being against guys that are possibly coming in 3 years older than you? Like, was that a big change?
It was a big change because it was, like I said at the time, I wasn't really doing as much as I needed to do to get to that point.
Right.
So it was definitely something that became very clear to me at the time. Okay, that I need to get stronger. There's no question about that. So as I started doing my off-ice training, I knew that I had the type of body type. I was very lean, and I didn't put weight on very very fast, very easy at all. Yeah. And so it became very frustrating for me as well. Because you start doing all this training and you start, you're adding protein, you're adding supplements to your diet, all the things you got to try to do to kind of get stronger, and you don't see the weight coming on. But Norm used to always tell me, don't worry about the weight. You're getting stronger. You're getting to that point where you're going to be able to handle, the physicality down low and to handle those big strong forwards in a down low defensive situation. Yep. So I had to make sure I was clear on that, because that became, you always want to get to a certain weight, right? Because that becomes important, especially when the draft's coming up. Yeah. You want to get to that point.
Now, at this point, are you trying to work that in during the season as well?
Yes.
Yeah. And is the team facilitating that at this point, or are you still kind of on your own?
Yeah, at that point, they had the equipment manager that was full time there. They didn't have any strength and conditioning guys there. So you're basically, the assistant coach was basically giving you workouts,
right?
Which it's fine. You're still getting some workouts in, but it's not. You're not specifically training with somebody that knows what they're doing,
right? Yeah. So it was starting to kind of get meshed in, but not necessarily like a full structured thing, right?
Big time. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. Very very limited resources at that time,
right?
Especially because they didn't know. You only know what you know,
right?
And at that time, that strength and conditioning was a part of it, but it wasn't a big part of it.
Right.
Was there a gym like in the rink, or did you have to go elsewhere?
No, you could call it a gym.
I guess
dumbbells.
That's exactly. I think they had some rusted dumbbells and some bike that didn't work too well, and it wasn't. the junior budgets are what they are. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's different now because I think just the focus on what's important
Right.
is different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I can remember it being in a bit of a shack next to our dressing room, and there was probably a couple free weights and some dumbbells, but they were all rested up and stuff. So yeah, it was interesting.
It had some character.
Character's a good word for it. Yeah.
You mentioned that you talked about your self-awareness. Did you feel that you were a very self-aware teenager and individual, and say, you mentioned, hey, I got to bulk up, I got to get stronger. Were there other things in your game that you knew you had to work on and you were right at it, whereas some other athletes maybe aren't self-aware and they really don't put the pressure on themselves to work on what they need to?
You always look back, right? You look back at your career and you go, what could I have done differently, or what could I have done better? And yeah, I think I was self-aware, Taylor, and I think I was a little bit. I was self-aware of what I need to work on, and I worked on those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if I would have, I always wish I could have done more.
Yeah.
Like I always wish I could have done more, and I just think, my dad was an educator, like I said, and I think for the most part, like I had some college interest, and I think he really liked me on the college route.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so hell bound on getting to the Western League. That's what everybody was doing. That's where the best players were going. At that time, especially, my mom. I basically told my mom and dad. I said, I'm going, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
Yeah.
So I was focused on that.
Yeah.
But I wish I would have been a little bit, and especially as my career went on, my pro career went on, and you start having family, start having all these other distractions. I think it's really important, especially for players now, that when you get to a certain age, that you have to dial up your focus and what you have to work on even more than you did when you were younger.
Yeah.
Because things aren't happening as easy for you.
You mentioned that college, your dad got pushed you to go to school. Did you spend time in junior A at all, and were there any colleges calling your name?
Yeah, though I had a couple offers to go down for some tours of the school. And so at that time that would have been after my midget year.
Mm-hmm.
I could have went to junior A instead of going to the Western League at that point. But like I said, I mean, I was just.
You had a goal and you wanted to do it.
I was really laser focused on getting to a certain place and being at a certain place, and in hindsight, if it would have went to college, maybe it would have been different. Maybe I would have had the opportunity to, because I got the college, and Sean, as well as anybody, you have the time to focus on the strength and conditioning factor, which I think was a part of my game that was really missing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I don't think in the Western League you have the time because you just play so much.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas college they have the week and it's planned out. You do your workouts here, you get and then you play on the weekends. And so I think that might have been good for me as far as my body specifically and my game to maybe get a little bit stronger before I made the jump.
Yeah, the practice to game ratio.
The recovery time.
Yeah.
The recovery time, and also the knowledge. I think and I could be mistaken. I guess Sean, you would know, but in the '90s when I played, and when I started playing at that level, I'm sure the college mindset was just a little bit more. How can I say it? A little bit more progressive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of got there maybe a little bit sooner than, maybe major junior or something. But at the same time, I'm sure it's drastically different than it is now. I mean, now it's, the facilities that they have, the nutrition, the recovery monitoring, there's just so many more resources and focus on those
Big time.
health and wellness variables versus just your hockey specific skills, right?
Very big time, yeah.
But that's kind of what I wanted to ask you about, Demmer, is just in terms of that, looking back. And I mean, it's always, when I think about it, it's always that fine balance between, like you said, structure and unstructured. And there's a lot of positives to both. And to me, the parallel there is guidance and lack of guidance. You had Norm Lacombe, you had some good coaches. It sounded like obviously your dad was a smart guy and athletic. He wasn't necessarily a specific hockey guy, but he was still pointing you in the right direction, wanted what was best for you. Do you look back and again, just contrasting it with now, you have all these advisors and there's almost too much structure, too much guidance in a lot of ways. Where do you think that kind of happy medium is between, a kid being told exactly what to do for every little step versus having to totally figure it out on their own?
You're right. There's a medium right there, and where it lies is maybe is a little bit individualized, depending on the kid. You may have a kid that's laser focused and knows exactly where he needs to get to, and maybe doesn't need as much structure because he's kind of understands on his own.
Right.
But there's also the kind of kid that needs to be led by the hand.
Right.
That it's no different than parenting. It's like I look back on my kids, and I give how much leeway do you to make their own mistakes that aren't going to injure them or hurt them in a manner, but you also want to make sure that they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
And how do they learn? They learn by making mistakes. And you can't make a mistake if you're being held by the hand.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is a little bit of it. There is definitely a balance there, and I think it maybe depends on each person individually.
Yeah, for sure. Do you on the advisor specifically, or agent? There's a gray area there, right?
Very gray.
Not anymore.
Yeah, no kidding.
When did you have one? Like, I know now they're obviously trying to get work with kids earlier and earlier. And you mentioned that decision of major junior. That's the goal you wanted, and it sounds like you moved everything you could towards it.
Yeah.
Do you maybe kind of wish there was or did you have an agent at that point?
I had an agent my first year junior. I didn't have an agent.
Yeah.
But as the year went on, because I got drafted after my first year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was 17. Because I didn't play as a 16-year-old. But I had an agent, Pro Rep Entertainment, which was Art Breeze at the time. He also had a teammate, Jason Smith. You guys all probably know who Jason Smith was, the captain of the Oilers. Jason was a teammate of mine in Regina, and his agent was Art. And so I grabbed him, and I had a great relationship with him, and he was tremendous. Not very, very, very much took what you wanted him to give him.
Right.
As far as that goes. What I mean by that is he was very open to being as involved or not as involved as you want him to be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for Art with me, I mean, I wasn't very needy at all. I kind of just went along with the flow. But he guided me in more in the business side of things than anything else. I wasn't a provider of the specific hockey needs that I was what I wanted. But he also had connections that could lead me in places that if I had any questions, or if I need any guidance, that they could point me in the right direction to go, which was very important too.
I guess what age do you think right now would be kind of the time that someone should look for one, or should they? I mean, with internet now, there's lots of ways people can actually receive information, like just to date you a hair of a bit. But like, how did you find out like you were listed and unlisted and all this other stuff?
I didn't. You don't. Well, first of all, when I was listed and unlisted and kept being bouncing on and off, I didn't even know. Like, I had no idea that was even happening.
Okay.
Wow. At that point, I didn't have an agent.
Yeah.
So it was going.
And they're not calling you. Hey, we picked you up, and then we dropped you.
No. You talk to your buddies. Hey, because they said they talked to somebody. Hey, I heard you got dropped today or yesterday. I'm like, oh.
Really?
That sucks. The next day, I get picked up by a different team. Like, it was just a really odd time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you don't have cell phones like you do now, and you don't have the internet where you can be seen. Like, you get on Twitter before it even happens, But I think it's kind of the same answer that I gave the other time, but maybe it's individualized. If you're a very high end kid, maybe you could use some more guidance earlier. And again, the game's changed so much that getting that guidance early and not making unknowledgeable decisions becomes very important at an earlier age. But you also have to have a good relationship, and I think trust goes a long way into that, and getting some good direction as far as who you're selecting as something to represent you as well.
And it sounds like your agent kind of hit that balance right on the head. Like he gave you what you needed, but didn't force anything on you. But he was there. He was there if you needed him, right?
Totally. And I know lots of players had 4 or 5 different agents. Like, I had one agent the whole time I was played pro.
Yeah.
And that was a big reason of Art, because I mean, we had a good relationship. He knew what I needed, and he knew what I needed from him.
Right. Well, I'd love to go talk a little bit about the offensive defenseman position, because I know it's become a lot more common, a lot more trendy in recent years. When you were going through the junior ranks and starting into your professional career, what was it like being an offensive defenseman? It was certainly a lot more rare. Did you ever find that challenging?
Yeah, there was. Growing up, wanting to be a guy that moved the puck up and wanted to join in, you obviously had some coaches that didn't have that same mindset.
Right.
And so back then it was kind of the mindset of what do you think you're doing? You move the puck and you stay back.
Right.
Whereas it's the exact opposite this year there nowadays. Whereas you have a 5-man offense now.
They're leading the rush.
And if you're not jumping up in the play, then they're asking you why you're not.
Right. Yeah. It's totally
which is
flipped.
totally flipped. And that's why I think I'm maybe born a little bit too early. maybe I missed my sweet spot there. But yeah, you had coaches that would say that would actually not give you as much ice because you're
right.
Maybe you made a mistake on the offensive side and it cost you. But I think that's like you said, that's how you learn. You can make mistakes, and if you're not given the chance to go out there again, how are you supposed to redeem yourself?
Did you ever find that it had the benefit of standing out though, because there were less people doing it? Was it ever, were there any situations where coaches looked at that and they're like, man, like we don't have anyone in our system potentially that can play this role, and Demmer can? Yeah,
I think that's kind of my whole career, to be honest with you, Sean.
Yeah.
I was an offensive guy, but wasn't purely offensive.
Right.
Which I think, to be honest, I think might have hurt me a little bit. I should have been more offensive. I think when you get to that point where you're trying to make a career out of something, you have to be very, 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 very good at one thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think with the way I was maybe quite good at that, or not, maybe really good. And then but I didn't really have any deficiencies in my game.
Right.
Where maybe if I would have been just kind of pressed offense even more, where now you're now you're a unicorn.
Right.
Now you're a guy that's like, this guy is something different. Right. And this guy has an element of a game that you just don't find anywhere.
Right.
You see Cale Makar, and he's a bit of a unicorn. That's just the guy that you just don't see. Like he's just his own kind of special player.
Yeah. Right.
So that you always look back. You look back and you go, man, if I would have just done this differently or this differently.
Yeah.
But I look back and I had nothing but fond memories of what I did.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, what about, we're talking about the lead up and, into your pro career. What was it like as steam built up towards the draft and knowing, you get an agent, you're being discussed, maybe you're going to get selected. Take us through maybe leading up to the draft and then ultimately getting selected by the Leafs.
Yeah, I got a real good draft story. So I was 11th round pick, which when my agent said you're more than likely you're not going to get drafted this year, which in all honesty probably would have been better if I wouldn't have, because if I would have got drafted the year after, I had a great second year, and I probably would have been drafted way higher. But anyway, I was 11th round pick, and I wasn't really supposed to be drafted, so I didn't go to the draft. Obviously, he said no, you should stay home. So I was working at Save On Foods. I was packing groceries at Save On Foods on the West End, and I didn't miss my shift because just because the draft's on doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I wasn't there anyway. And so the announcement comes over the intercom. Nathan Dempsey, we got a phone call. So the front desk at their Save On Foods got a phone call. So I pick up the phone and the guy says, this is Cliff Fletcher of the Toronto Maple Leafs. We just drafted you in the 11th round.
Wow.
And I honest to God, I said, yeah, right. Well, because my buddies all knew that it was draft night.
Yeah.
I said, guaranteed. How is Cliff Fletcher, first of all, going to get the phone number at Save On Foods?
The West End
Call me on the West
of the
End.
city.
There's not a chance. So then my mom calls. No, Cliff Fletcher just called and asked for the number to Save on Foods. I'm like, oh my God. I just hung up on Cliff Fletcher. Fortunately enough for me, the Cliff Fletcher, there wasn't Cliff that called back, but it was, I think it was Bill Waters, the assistant GM, called back and said, I know you don't think this is real, but you did get drafted in the 11th round. So obviously it was a big day, big night for me. I was extremely excited. My dad growing up in Ontario was always a pretty big Leaf fan, so it was pretty cool for our family.
Well, just wanted to jump back on a note I had here in terms of, again, your offensive defenseman role. Who were some of your idols that you looked up to?
Paul Coffey, man.
Yeah, Paul Coffey, yeah.
Edmonton Oilers, I mean, gosh, like I grew up in a great era.
Absolutely.
You know, like my grandfather had season tickets to this as well, so I got to see a bunch of games, which was awesome. But Paul Coffey was just a huge, what's the word I'm looking for?
Influence.
An influence. Thank you. Thanks, Taylor. Yeah. Huge influence on me and just how to play the game and how to model my. I wanted to model my game after him so bad. Obviously, wasn't quite as good a skater to model my skate because stuff was but it's really cool. Like after as we go years on, I got a good chance to play in a bunch of alumni games with him and got to know Paul pretty well.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that he's back with the Oilers and doing such a great job with their defensemen now.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that watching him, and obviously, you know, YouTube is something that's a resource for kids now. They can flow hockey. Like there's all these other ways to get video. It's a lot easier now. But did you make a point of trying to watch Oiler games as you were growing up, and do you think that was helpful to your development and passion for the game?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think back then a little bit different. You didn't get as many hockey games on, so we actually only got Oiler games.
Right.
So I mean, that was the only guy I really wanted to watch.
Right.
He was a huge influence on that. And then not all the games were televised either. So even listening to Rod Phillips on the radio,
Sure.
the old legend calling games on CFRN back in those days, just listening to those games, the passion that they brought to those games, and to be able to model my game after him was a huge influence.
So watching those games, like you mentioned, your dad wasn't like a big hockey guy. Did you have anyone to kind of discuss it with, to like get different viewpoints and thoughts and kind of converse about it?
To be honest, not really as far as family goes. I think most of my bouncing ideas off was with my teammates or my friends that I played with, bouncing the ideas off them. So, and then once I got to a certain age, I think I would use my agent quite a bit to make sure, what are you hearing? Are they talk? Like, what are they, and then honestly, like when you get to pro level, you're really, you have to have the confidence to go and ask your coach and ask him to be clear on what is necessary. And if you're having a problem with something, let me know, and make sure that you're being honest with me. And if you don't like him being honest, then that's your problem. So you want to make sure that you have that ability to have that communication with the coaches as well.
That's a really good point for sure, to get open communication for sure. Yeah,
and some coaches are better than others. But as a player, you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your business and making sure that you know exactly where you stand.
When was the first time in your hockey career that there was any element of video review? In terms of game footage, your own team.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think it would have been a couple years into pro. I mean, there's always game tape.
Yeah.
But there's that like my first few years in the minors, we never really used game tape as a tool.
Right.
For us as a team. They would break it down as coaches, and then they'd bring it to us as far as what they needed. And maybe, I mean, I can't remember ever getting some game clips of myself until like a couple years into my pro career. Until maybe even like my first year that I played in Toronto was that first call up. That was kind of the first time I really found them breaking down individual tape as far as, here's clips of you.
Right.
They didn't have that automatic, and it was all VHS. It was all done, and they had to clip it like that. Kind of
a lot more work.
A lot more work.
Yeah. So your third year junior, did you go to camp with the Leafs that year after you were drafted?
I went first 2 years after I was drafted. Mm-hmm. So I went my second year and my third year junior.
How was that first experience again? Was it an eye opener, just like jumping from midget to junior?
I I just loved the experience. Like, and of course, I'm kind of mad. I can't imagine how nervous I was. I can't even remember, but I'm sure I was nervous. But just going to training camp and being in the same ice as Doug Gilmore, and Jamie McCowan and all these guys that you just loved watching growing up. It was just a tremendous experience, and making sure that that though your first couple camps, you're just kind of in awe. You're not really playing your game because you just don't want to make any mistakes.
Right.
But you have to learn that you're there for a reason, and your reason is playing your game. And you have to become very clear on that.
I think it's something I know in golf people forget this all the time, but your game got you to that level.
Totally.
I know for the golfers for sure, sometimes they make the PGA Tour and all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, when I need a new coach, I need to switch this up and this up. It's like, well, hey, this got you all the way here.
Yeah.
Why are we going to blow this up now?
Totally. And then exactly. So you go to your first training camp and you start doing things that are totally against what you're not. I'm not moving the puck, or I'm not coming up in the play, not playing as free as I would usually play.
Yeah.
That kind of comes with experience and time, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And sometimes confidence, like maybe I didn't give myself enough credit for what I could do.
Right.
So what was the communication from the team to you? I mean, you're drafted offensive defenseman. Was it just, hey, come to camp, see what you can do? Or, hey, we brought you in because of X, Y, and Z. Try to do that.
Taylor, there's no communication. Back then, and it changed as my career went on. It did get much better, mm-hmm. but I don't think it was nearly never as good as it is now. So I mean, I went out to camp, like I basically they didn't say squat to you, like they just said, here's your number and
go out there.
Give it.
Yeah.
Like there's never, like even when I swear, my first call up to Toronto, I didn't know, like, so I like, they never told me what the forecheck was. They never told me what the PK was.
So you're just out there lost.
You're just lost.
Sounds like the Toronto Maple Leafs, I guess.
but I think that was everywhere too.
Yeah,
that wasn't just like, that was just, I mean, just kind of just, you're here because why? Because I don't know, because we needed a guy. So get up there and get suit up and away go.
Right. Was this because of, like, do you think maybe just because of your age at the time, like they knew maybe you weren't going to play right away, so they didn't have the resources to, like, put into you?
No, I just think that's the way the game was back then. Yes, I think that, honestly, I just don't think it was as organized and as prepared as it was back in, especially as it is now.
Yeah.
And like I said, as my years went on, things definitely got better as far as preparation and making sure that when a new guy comes in, he knows like mm-hmm. systems and stuff. Like, it was just basically go and give her and hope for the best.
So like nowadays, a young kid comes in, like, walk the listeners through, I guess, the process. Like, would they kind of learn the systems first and then?
Yeah. So I mean, I think when a kid gets called up now, I mean, obviously you'd have a quick chat with the coach and he'd tell you exactly your role as an individual, and then he'd tell you the team systems on where you're going to be you're going to be playing PK. So this is our system. Here's how we're going to PK. Here's where we're aggressive. Here's on how the other team's going to play. You're not going to play power play, so you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
I mean, there'd just be a lot more information for them to give you, and you'd be a lot more prepared to play. Once that's communicated.
Going through that first camp and going back to junior, did you find it gave you a little confidence boost being back in junior around younger guys, smaller guys? Did it feel a little easier after that?
Yeah, that's the epitome of swagger, Sean.
Yeah.
is when you're a junior guy and you go to NHL training camp.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to get sent back, but when you do get sent back, boy, you're just a peacock right now. And I'm surprised my head could fit through the door half the time. But I mean, that also helps your game. Like you just build that confidence, and now you're just ready to roll. You're just ready to lead. Try to lead your guys and try to show them what it takes.
For sure.
And we had on the team that year that got drafted that year, Jeff Shantz was a teammate of mine. He played in Chicago for years. Smitty had a great career. Yeah. We had some guys come back from that draft that just really could lead.
Mm-hmm. Did you find after that season, were there any adjustments that you looked to make? Like, again, like Matt was saying, you guys were talking about, you don't want to put it all back in the blender. But knowing that your junior career is winding down and you're trying to make that next step, were there any things that you tried to tweak over the off season?
My strength.
Strength, yeah.
I knew the first second I was on the ice with NHL guys that I need to get stronger.
Yeah.
My asset was my skating and my speed, but man, oh man, I need to get stronger. Especially back in those days, like those days that just there you could get away with all the clutching and grabbing.
Totally.
Your big strong D men were the ones that could really make a difference. And so I knew I needed to get stronger. I knew I needed to work on my body and make sure that it's ready to roll the next training camp when it rolls around.
Did you find it a little easier to put some weight on in the summer when you weren't, playing every
Nope.
other night? No.
My body, like my first year pro, I played defense at 160 pounds.
Yeah.
That was my first year pro, and I get tell me now. I wish I could keep the weight off like I did back then. Now, because man, oh man, I'd be svelte. But
I think that's the thing that's kind of nice about college too. And I notice this with football players especially is when you're that young sometimes, like you can't put on the weight until you're like that 22, 23-ish
exactly.
age. College kind of gives you that time to develop that part of your body.
well, you just mature. I mean, and you're maturing in a place where there's some guidance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you just look back, go, man, maybe it would have been interesting if I went that different route, just to see if it would have made a difference.
Metabolism slows down a little bit.
Well,
like
tell
all
me
those
that.
type of
Tell me
things,
about
right?
it.
Yeah.
Way slower now that I'm 50.
Well, it's interesting to think about that, the off season, challenges. I mean, again, you're an active guy, you're a young man at this point. And just the way the game has changed, like I'm sure when you were going through this, like one of the first questions that they're asking you when you come into camp is how much you weigh, and they're getting you on the scale. They're checking that. It's still a factor now, but with speed being so important, they've really realized, like, hey, if you're carrying an extra 40 pounds, even if it's muscle, you are going to be slower. There's that optimal point where there's a lot more lean guys now, and it's not, especially for defensemen, it's not just expected you come in and you weigh as much as you can, and that's always a good thing, right?
Totally.
So that's really changed. Was that ever kind of frustrating to you? Because like you said, speed was an asset for you. Did you ever feel, even in your own mind, like, hey, like if I get too big here, I'm going to slow myself down and take that asset away from my game?
Yeah, the frustrating part now, and you don't realize it then, because I look back and I'm like, the game is so much more my kind of game now.
Right. Yeah.
Like I just played in a time where it just wasn't as important.
Right.
Like what was important is being big and strong and get as much weight as you can on, and make sure you're strong, especially as a D-man, make sure you're taking care of stuff in your own end.
Right.
And that just wasn't the way I was built. So that, like, basically, Sean, like I had to make sure that the coaches understood that this is the kind of way I'm going to play.
Right.
And I think, as coaches could see the way I could play and the way I could handle myself and the way I would make other and just defend in other ways with my feet, with my stick, I'd get the job done. And that's kind of why, I was able to keep my career the way it was.
When you said you let the coaches know, did you verbalize this to them, like in meetings?
No.
Like you just kind of just did it?
It's all visual.
Yeah.
They had to see the stuff. They had to see the way I play work, and they had to see it be a benefit to the team, and they had to make sure that they saw that. Me saying it didn't mean anything.
Yeah, I'm guessing I had to take a lot of confidence to be like, hey, I got to play my own game. And
Well, it takes a lot of belief in yourself to make sure that you believe in the way you play, and that'll be successful. And I mean, like it was just different. Like I think now I would approach the coach and just say, hey, I really believe that this is the way I can play. But back then, honestly, they wouldn't give
the
a
eras were very different.
Yeah.
They would not. They wouldn't care if you came in there and said that. They'd say, well, that's great. Good for you.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Go show me.
Go show me. Yeah.
Was there a coach that had a positive impact to you at that junior into your first couple years pro level?
My first year pro in St. John's was Tom Watt. Tom Watt was he's an old, great hockey guy. He was a scout for years. He coached in the NHL as well. He was a great defender of how I played. I'm very fortunate that when I went to St. John's, I was very lucky because most guys, especially in my position where I was as a late round pick, I would head to the coast first before you play in the American League.
Right.
And Tom was a great defender. He really believed in how I played, and honestly, like I benefited from a couple injuries. There's a couple injuries on the St. John's Leafs that year. I've got defensemen that probably would have taken my spot that I ended up playing in front of because they were injured, and I ended up creating an opportunity for myself that ended up not losing my spot when they came back healthy.
Right.
So without me really being conscious of it, I took advantage of that situation and kind of made the best of it.
Now, were you preparing yourself like, hey, like I got to be ready in case I get my shot? You know, you hear that from a lot of ex-pro guys that maybe are always on the bubble lineup, is that they did whatever they could to be ready at practice because when their number got called, the coach couldn't take them out of the lineup.
Yeah, I think I developed that as my junior career and kind of the way I had to, because being an underdog kind of coming up, is you never took a practice off.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You always had to make sure you were prepared for every practice and competed at every practice, and your practice was your game. Because before you know it, you'll be, you're not playing hard in practice, and so your ice time goes down, and then they're not trusting you as much. But you have to practice hard, and there's only a handful of guys that get away with it. That I mean, back in those days, your first round guys that maybe could get away with it a little bit because they're going to get an opportunity no matter what.
Right.
But I knew as a guy that was a late round pick, and some of the other guys that were maybe free agent guys that weren't drafted at all, that just knew that this is the way we had to practice hard.
Yeah.
Which is a benefit too, because then you're practicing at game speed and.
Well, I mean, it just translates. Like I was never a guy that could turn it on, turn it off like a light switch. I mean, because it just wasn't the way I was built, and maybe it was because I was, wasn't as maybe skilled and talented as other guys. But I always made sure that I could work hard, put the time in.
Yeah, you ingrain that habit, and I mean, again, when you also think of the belief that you're also trying to develop from your coaching staff, I mean, the vast majority of time they're looking at you is not game time. Exactly. It's practice time, and it's just such a big opportunity to instill that confidence in them as well.
Especially Sean at that time when there wasn't that video.
Right.
Like I think now you get a coach that could maybe say, hey, you didn't play very well tonight, and then they could go back and they look at the video and they go, well, maybe it was not bad,
right.
Or even the other way around.
Right.
Back then, like you said, the only time they're going to see you and make sure that you're prepared is at the practice time.
Right. Yeah.
And you got to make sure you're. I mean, again, that you don't have to be an idiot and going out there and blocking shots with your face, but
right.
You definitely want to make sure you're competing hard.
Now, was there anything else to your practice routine that you really tried to, or even we could extend this question to your game day routine? Were there things that you tried to do, not necessarily just on the ice, but prior, get there early, be the last guy off? Were there other things that you tried to include into this routine of yours?
I was always an early guy to get there really early.
Yeah.
Like even at work now, I get there early, and
yeah,
that's kind of the way I was built. Making sure that I was there early, and I think for more importantly for me, especially in St. John's when I was a captain there, is I was there early and I made sure that I could see all the guys coming in, make sure I was having fun with the guys and keeping everybody making sure that you kind of make sure everybody's a good spot. I always liked getting there early, and I thought if you were the first one there, it always made it you seem like you're prepared.
Totally, and the coaches are going to notice.
The coaches notice, and I just felt more prepared.
Yeah.
So you're there early, you got everything ready. Game day, usually, especially even morning skate, I was there early, and then getting there before the game, I was early too.
Yeah. Making
sure I was prepared, and body's prepared and mentally prepared, and, doing whichever it takes to make yourself ready to go.
Now that effort to be prepared and to be early, was that something? Do you remember when that kind of started in your?
I don't, Sean, honestly, because I was always kind of like that.
Yeah.
My dad, growing up, I remember him getting up at 4 going to work, and he was a school teacher. There's no need for him to be in
Right.
school but 5. But I mean, that's when he felt like he could get this work done the best.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was a principal, so there's a lot of stuff going on during the school day that he couldn't be distracted. He'd get distracted by other stuff and couldn't get as much work done as he needed to.
Yeah.
And so that's what I felt like. Maybe even my hockey, I felt, when the guys all show up and you want to make sure that you're communicating with them and
Yeah.
you're talking it over, and I don't know, depending on how you prepare for your game, whether it be keep them loose or stay focused. Anything I needed to do would be done before lots of the guys got there.
Right.
Being a multi-sport athlete, like we've talked about, guys nowadays it's sewer ball and all that stuff. Were you bringing any little games to the pregame routine?
I wasn't a big games guy. I guess maybe back then it would have been. I guess later on in my career, sewer ball
Yeah.
was starting to show itself.
Yeah.
I never played sewer ball. I was always a little bit more focused on getting stuff myself prepared.
Yeah.
At that point, sewer ball would always happen kind of closer to the game time, so I would always be doing my other things, being a little bit more focused on myself. But like I said, there's so many different ways you can prepare.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of trying different things out and finding out what works best for you.
Right. Yeah. Again, like you said, that it's there's some suggestions there, but at the same time, it's a very individual recipe, right, for each person.
Big time. And like there's so many recipes, like you said, Sean.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different ways you can prepare, and I mean, you just don't know the best way until you try a couple things. Like I think I spent a lot of my junior career watching other people, like watching the older guys,
Yeah.
how they prepared and trying. So I'll try that.
Yeah.
And just seeing what works for you, right?
So you mentioned your coach in St. John's. Was he there for your whole time?
No,
No.
he was only there for, I think he was the first 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I had other coaches. Another coach that really helped me along the way was Al McAdam. He was another coach I had in St. John's. Al was a good old Eastern boy. He's from PEI.
Yeah.
Played in the NHL. I think he scored 50 goals in the NHL one time.
Wow.
I can't remember. I think he played in Minnesota. But again, had a lot of faith in my game. A big reason why I signed in Chicago the year that I was a free agent was when Al actually took an assistant job there, and I knew that he knew my game and
Right.
knew it could be an opportunity for him to kind of, I wouldn't say fight for me, but he knew what I could do, and it's always good to have somebody that knows you when you're in a position of changing teams.
Absolutely.
Talk about getting the captaincy in St. John's and,
Yeah.
how that lead up, to that moment of being stamped with the C.
Yeah, I think it was a great honor. Obviously, to be a captain of any team is a great honor. But at that year, I was only 22 at the time.
Wow.
To get named captain was a tremendous, but it's also a bit of a curse too, because you want to make that step.
Yeah.
You want to make it to the next step, and having that captaincy kind of meant that I was going to be maybe a full timer.
Right.
And so, as much as you're honored, you also want to make sure that you're not stuck down there and
Yeah.
just being, as a 22-year-old, like how much mentorship, like I'm only 2 years older than the new guys coming in.
Right.
But I mean, it was a great honor. It was obviously, something that I'm tremendously proud of, and but I want to make sure that I got to the next step too, in the same breath.
Mm-hmm. Well, you did. And what was it? To say someone's first game in the NHLs with the Toronto Maple Leafs, was it? Were they still in the Garden at that time, or
Yep.
they just okay? So
My first goal was in Maple Leaf Gardens.
wow.
Wow.
Scored against Kirk McLean of the Vancouver
Canucks, yeah.
assisted by Matthew Schneider and Darby Hendrickson.
That's awesome.
But yeah, awesome. That was my first goal. My first game was in Jersey. I got called up and played in Jersey. Rolled into the hotel and checked in, asked who my roommate is, and they said some name. I'm like, I don't know, that guy doesn't play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's weird. So I go up and check in, and there's a duffel bag right by the door. Nobody in there. So I wheel in and grab myself some dinner. Turn on the TV. It's like 11 o'clock. Nobody. Turn the TV off. Get some shut-eye. Well, about 2 o'clock in the morning. In wheels Doug Gilmore. Dougie starts jumping on my bed. He's had a few. He was just back from Manhattan, having some beers with Gretz.
Oh wow.
And Kirk Muller. And so that was awesome. He was so excited for me, and that just made it. The funny thing is, the next morning, he was the first guy at the rink.
Yeah.
He put in the work in. He scored 2 goals and had an assist that night.
Wow.
And I don't think I want to be like that, but
Yeah.
I mean, some guys can get away with that. Because he was a great teammate, an awesome guy.
How did you get called up? Like, did you know in advance? Like, someone get injured? Was it an immediate thing?
No, I think somebody got injured. Then you kind of, when somebody gets injured and you're in the American League, you kind of wonder, am I playing well? Like, you want to make sure you take care of yourself. But then they make that decision to call you up, and they give you, their coach usually tells you, your American League coach usually calls you into the office and tells you, and then everybody's pretty excited for you, especially your first call up. It's awesome. It was awesome.
Now at that point, you're in your 3rd American League season, correct?
Yeah,
Full
correct,
season. Yeah. Mentally, how, like you said, you've become captain. You're taking a bigger role. You start out trying to solidify yourself there, and like you said, a later pick. There's a lot of those guys start in the East Coast, so you've really done a good job of making yourself, an important part of the team in St. John's. How much was it on your radar of even going up to the NHL yet at that point?
It was on my radar for sure. I was playing really well. Like I was contributing a lot. I was playing a big role in that team. I was kind of the next guy.
Yeah.
You know? But to be honest with you, Sean, the first time I got called up, I played as a forward.
Wow.
And that was a huge. I've never played forward in my life.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm playing in the best league in the world, and I'm playing as a forward.
Now, was there any communication prior to that game?
Yeah. No, there wasn't. So they told me I was going to be playing the wing. I mean, it was a 4th line role, so, and they just said they want me to be a PK guy.
Right.
They want me to be an energy guy.
Yeah.
And so then I just went out there and I hit every single thing I could. I was exhausted. I played 4 minutes, I think, that night. but I was exhausted.
Yeah. Playing heavy.
So that first club was really odd. I've been playing defense like all year in St. John's, and they saw something that they wanted to give me a try and wing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think that was because I was an offensive guy.
Right. Yeah.
And I could skate, and they wanted some guy with more speed.
Yeah.
So they thought I'd give it a try. And that first club, I played 14 games.
Yeah.
14 games as a winger.
All forward.
All 14.
Yeah.
All forward.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really odd. Something that, I was not even prepared for before I went up there and got that chance.
As you got deeper into those 14 games, like you said, you hadn't played forward at all ever. Even in minor hockey. Did you start to get a little bit more comfortable?
Nope.
No.
I shouldn't say that. I mean, it's so different.
Yeah.
Sean, like as a D-man, you're back there, you see everything happen, and you're coming up and you see everything kind of progress. And as a winger, you just feel like you're like just in the middle of all the action. Like
right.
You just that's going 100 miles an hour. The game's so
totally.
Fast. Especially as a guy that's never played that position before. But I felt more comfortable with the positioning and felt more comfortable. The biggest thing for me was the D zone part, is just making sure that, especially the wall battles, become so different, and making the importance of getting making those plays on the wall. The offensive side, we never spent a lot of time on the offensive end anyway, so it didn't matter as a line. But I mean, to score my first goal there as a Leaf my wife was at the game. She flew in and for a couple of days and was able to be at that game. So that was awesome.
Special.
And it was at the Gardens, so that was really cool.
For your very first game in New Jersey there, were you able to was there enough time to get family out to share that with you?
No, because I got called up the night before.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't make it in, but they got to see it on TV, and it's as best they can.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then they came out shortly thereafter.
Yeah. They came to Toronto because I think we played another road game on the island, I think. And then we made it back home, and they were able to get there for the home game.
Yeah.
Nice. That story about your roommate being Doug Gilmore.
Yeah.
Was there any other pro guys? When you're the AHL guy on the bubble coming to camp, were there some guys that were on the the Leafs, other than maybe Dougie, that supported you, or that you had a great relationship that made things good at training camp, and then ultimately when you got to the NHL, made that transition a little bit easier?
So later on, when I was up in Toronto, later on, Gary Roberts was my roommate. He was not only a tremendous player, but just a great person. A great person to bounce things off of.
Mm-hmm.
He also was a big fan of mine. And actually, when I got sent down, he went into Pat Quinn's office and kind of basically said, "What the hell are you doing?"
Mm.
And Dave Manson was another guy. He was my D partner. He also went in with Gary at the time and just said, "You guys are making a mistake here," which I thought was awesome. I didn't know that until later on, but those guys are big. And another person that was a big, it was Cujo. For a defenseman to have that he came to me and kind of told me the way that he liked to play certain situations,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
which was awesome. He was a goalie that on a 2-on-1 would say, "I want you to force the puck."
Right.
You're told back in the day that you stay between the puck here and the other player and kind of play in between them. But he really felt that if you pressured the puck, that guy would either make a mistake. If the pass did get across, it would be a bobbled puck.
Mm-hmm.
And he played so deep in his net that he could make that play over there.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I ever kind of heard that from a goalie, and kind of changed the way I played to him once a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I could read that the puck carrier maybe had his head down or something, then go over there and put a little pressure on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was but I thought he always had really good tips and feedback for me.
Well, it's amazing to have that communication with any teammate, let alone a goalie, especially as a defenseman, right?
Yeah.
So the next time, those first 14 games, you said those were all on forward.
Yeah.
You go back to the American League for a little bit.
For a few years,
you come back up, and now you're playing as a defenseman.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So I played the next. Then at that point, I mean, you have those few years that you didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
Those were frustrating years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was having some good years, and there's sometimes where I wasn't playing well. I'll be the first one to admit it. But I felt like maybe that captaincy curse was kind of riding high.
Yeah.
And at that point, I kind of wanted to make a change. So at that point, we started looking into maybe trying to get me moved, trying to get me into a different situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never really transposed until after that last year in St. John's. I was a free agent where I was able to kind of move on.
Right.
But yeah, you're kind of stuck a little bit,
Yeah.
and with that, it's hard to kind of stay positive and stay motivated. There was a couple times there where I got really, really down on myself, and that's tough as an athlete, especially an athlete that you're usually so confident in yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of confidence in a few spells there during that time.
Yeah.
How was your support system at that time? Like, you were married at that time by then, so obviously your wife, family's big support system for you.
Big time. Yeah, my wife is a huge sounding board for me, huge supporter of mine, and then somebody that I could always talk to about different things. She's known me since we were in grade 7.
Wow.
So I mean, we never dated since then, but I mean, she's known me forever, and so she knows exactly what's going on with me and can read what's going on and knows. And she's obviously been through a lot of stuff with hockey and understands the way things are working and in the different ways. And it was always a big part of being able to trying to get my confidence back for me.
Was there one specific thing? I mean, you did mention you were pretty down on yourself, but was there one specific thing that you think kept you going and, clearly you stuck with it?
One specific thing that kept me going, the love of the game.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but what the hell else am I going to do? But I love the game of hockey. I loved it so much that I would have played anywhere. But I mean, once you get that taste and you're good enough, you want to get back to that place.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And did you find in those kind of, down moments, which again, like you said, it's going to happen. It's difficult to get through that. Did you find it was a little bit more difficult to kind of stick with some of your routines, or did you maybe kind of lean into those routines even harder to take it day by day?
I think you're exactly right, Sean. You really lean on those habits to the point where you're leaning on them so much that maybe you got to change your habits.
Sure.
So I'll be honest. There's times where during that part where I'd say screw it. I go and I get hammered.
Yeah. Yeah.
like a couple of the boys go out, okay, I gotta change my luck.
Yeah.
Have a couple of beers,
Mix it up.
mix it up. And so then that didn't work. And so you try something different the next time. And again, we didn't do that all the time, but if you're in a slump, you got to do something to get yourself out of it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
But you have, it can be a little bit of a crutch too.
Yeah.
Like if you're leaning too heavily on those habits.
Totally.
To be able to find something different that kind of sparks a little bit of energy and sparks something different in you.
Yeah.
You got to find a way.
Bit of a sidebar, but kind of related, and you obviously, I'm sure, have seen it a lot with certain teammates over the years. I find it interesting that there's always a bit of a fine line between routine and superstition.
Yeah.
Did you ever find yourself kind of getting into the realm of having some superstitions?
I think I did, but again, there's such a gray area there.
Yeah.
I feel like you're saying, everybody says, "Oh, I put this shouldn't put on for this shouldn't put." Well, yeah, I mean, of course you do. You've been doing it for 10,000th time doing it. Of course you're going to do it a certain way.
Right.
You start the car the same way.
Is that a superstition? I don't think it is. It's more like it's just a habit.
Routine.
And if I did do it differently, like I'd be like, "Well, this is weird."
Right.
It definitely would feel weird, but I wouldn't exactly stop and do it the other way.
Right.
Was there anything that was, like out of the ordinary? Like just from my own personal standpoint, I know like when I was playing competitively for, like I had to eat like an egg salad sandwich before I played or something. But then like I'd go somewhere and like this isn't available.
Right.
Like was there anything like that you saw or like with yourself or teammates that?
So would that rattle you if it wasn't available? Like,
Like I remember being in Quebec and like the golf course we were playing at didn't have it available, so I had to find some grocery store and they had a platter.
Yeah.
So I bought a platter for the week and I just put it in the fridge so I had it at all times.
you had it covered.
But it was like I didn't have a car necessarily. Like we shared one car with 3 people, so it was like I almost had to be like, guys, we're going to the store.
I need egg salad.
Yeah.
I need this, right? Yeah.
I think like I'm a creature of habit, and is that like having the same meal, and it doesn't have to be like you said you had egg salad. Like for me, pasta and chicken or whatever. Like if it wasn't the same kind of chicken or whatever it was,
Right.
like it didn't really matter.
You're
like,
okay with something
I'm
slightly
okay with
different.
something. Yeah, I was just. And again, like I'd change up the sauce and all the time, and I just do different, maybe add this to it, or like So I don't think there was one specific thing that I can think of that was kind of an odd superstition that would kind of get me off track if I didn't do it.
Yeah, that's it sounds like a good balance, right? Because those habits, those routines are so important, but when they start getting to the point where, like you said, Matt, it's
distracting.
Yeah, it's distracting, and even just you're spending extra time and money driving to get the sandwich, and maybe you miss out on some warm up time or whatever, right?
Yep.
So
yeah, if it affects your performance, it might have. Well, I've heard that Crosby's got some odd ones, like to the point where he needs things done a certain way.
right, yeah.
I'm not sure if that's true or not, but whatever.
Good thing he's really good.
Yeah, he probably does. He probably gets it exactly the way he wants all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Does anyone stick out in your mind of, man, this guy had a weird routine or yes, superstition that you just shook your head at?
Let me think. I always felt like goalies in general, just certainly like I always felt like they had to have their stuff in a certain way. And I can't remember the goalie, but he had his pads down, and if you touched him, like he would freak right out.
Right.
Well, you hear Patrick Waugh having that issue, I think, too, sometimes.
Yeah, like I think there's a few goalies that I played with that were just like, what are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
that's just weird. But
Taylor used to be a goalie. Still
Yeah,
plays some
Matt
goals.
too,
So
yeah.
we
So-
we got some goalies
Got a
that
couple
know
Sounds
about
about right, yeah.
couple oddballs.
Does makes sense why I have
Usually it's if someone's in your spot at beer league or something or pickup, that's when you get little
Hey, you want moving?
the wires crossed, yeah.
Need your space.
Yeah.
So that second call up, there must have been some relief. Walk us through the emotions of getting called up again the second time.
So that second call up was it was relief. So the point that I didn't really play that well.
Right.
Like I felt like I wasn't playing my game. And at the time I can honestly remember not playing well in St. John's before they called me up either.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the reasoning was behind that, but the third time was the time that I really felt like I came into my own.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time where I played. That was the time where I was paired with Dave Manson and played with those guys, and I felt like I was really belonging.
Yeah.
And I played a good chunk of the year that year, and it was I was coming to the terms that I could play in this league right now, no problem. Like, this is
Right.
where I belong.
Right.
And then when I got sent back, that's when that's when I knew I got to move on.
Right. So you go back, you have that year again with St. John's. Then you're a free agent that summer.
Sort of interruption, but when I got called up, then I got called up for playoffs in Toronto.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was a huge part of my career.
Yes.
So the time that I played in Toronto, that year I never played one game in the regular season in Toronto that year.
Right.
And then I got called up and played, I think, 5 or 6 games in Toronto for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was in the quarterfinals and semifinals.
Wow.
So you're talking like a good pace of play.
Yeah.
And I'm playing at this level. Like, I knew, like, that's it just solidified the fact that I could play at this level.
Absolutely.
And that was a huge part of my confidence going into that next season, going to that off season where I knew I was a free agent, which would have been awesome that I got the chance to play in the playoffs too.
Right. How did you find that experience in the playoffs? Like, you've played, a decent amount of NHL games at this point, but you've been up and down. Did you find that extra level of pressure in the playoffs to be overwhelming?
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like, not overwhelming. Just like Toronto in the playoffs. Like, there's nothing like it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't even describe it.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about everybody. That's all anybody's talking about. Anybody ever, like, for a person like me, like, everybody knew who I was, and I was there I wasn't even there all year.
Right.
People are coming up to me, and like it was bonkers. That's the word that comes to my mind. It's just bonkers.
Yeah. What an experience. So did you feel like that pressure actually brought even more out of your game?
At that point, I just felt like I was in a great spot mentally, and I was just ready to go.
Right.
I just knew that I had the ability, and if I could just stay, I knew I had the ability, and if I just had the opportunity, I could play.
Mm-hmm. And you got it.
Yeah. No, I did. The next year, I signed a 2-week deal in Chicago, but I never went to the minors once when I was in Chicago. So that was awesome, and I played a boatload. Brian Sutter was my coach. Brian was a very demanding coach, and he was very tough on me. But I mean, he got the most out of me. I played. I think that was a year. I think during that first year, I think I played. My average time on the ice was 23 minutes.
Wow.
Which meant I was on the ice a lot, which just makes you, like, people ask me where's my favorite place to play. Well, I say that was because I was just playing a lot, and you just felt like you're part of it.
Yeah. Contributing,
exactly. Yeah. That's why you just felt like you're important.
And with your skill set, I mean, I'm assuming you're probably, a power play guy too, contributing there.
I was, but Phil Halsey was on the team, so that didn't help.
Oh.
That's a tough one.
I'll tell you a story. That the first period, Phil and I are partners, which we probably never should have been partners because we were both up the ice a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
So the first period, we both had 2-on-1s. Like, I'm telling you, like, me and Phil against one guy.
Yeah.
2-on-1s in one period, and we didn't score on either.
Oh.
So we come in and Sutz called us into his office, and he just tore a strip off both of us. Both of you guys are up ice, and all the F-bombs that you can imagine. And then we leave the office, and Phil goes, "Hey, Dummer, keep it up." He just loved it. He loved the fact that we're always up the ice. But obviously, to play with Phil, like a Hall of Fame guy like that was awesome.
No kidding. At this point, how many, offensive defensemen does each team typically have? Is it kind of just 1 or 2 at the most?
Yeah, I think most times it's mostly 2 at the most.
Yeah.
I think that year, Phil and I probably were the 2 guys that were probably the offensive guys.
Yeah.
But as my career went on, even a couple years later, I think you had half.
Right.
So you probably have an offensive guy with a defensive guy, and that's kind of the way that the partners work.
Yeah.
So I mean, it got a little bit more as it went on, but now I mean, every guy in the D can skate and move the puck and move up the ice and contribute.
How did that process going to Chicago? I know you mentioned, was it Tom Watt or McDonald that was in Chicago?
McAdam.
Okay, so
Al McAdam.
Yeah, Al McAdam.
Yes.
So that, obviously that relationship probably aided into that
So
signing.
negotiations during that summer, there's a couple of teams that had some interest in me, and it was all basically the same kind of two-way money.
Yeah.
But I knew, and Al and I had conversations. He said, I mean, I can't guarantee you, because I'm only the assistant coach. But he said, I'll give you an opportunity here. You'll get an opportunity, and if you play the way you can, you should have a good opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's all I was looking for. So I knew that was kind of going to be the spot for me, and it worked out well in Chicago. And I signed a 2-year deal there, and I got traded to LA right before the deadline.
Right.
After my second year, during my second year.
Now, was he your D coach, or was he in charge of the forwards?
He was actually in charge of the forwards, but
Okay.
yeah, but he's. It's funny, you know who was in charge of the D? Denny Savard.
No way.
Like, are you kidding me?
Well, that's why you guys are up in the play.
Yeah,
probably.
exactly. He's a big fan of me and Howie there. Yeah. So, but Denny was a great coach too. He was a funny dude.
And the trade to LA, was that kind of, just out of the blue? Were there some rumblings before? Were you caught off guard by it?
Totally caught off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was giving my kid a bath. I remember got a phone call, and you're gone that morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that is just like well, I just had never been traded before in my life, and then this happens, man. But actually, it was a bit of an honor because LA was they were right on the cusp of trying to make the playoffs, and they thought they needed to add an offensive guy.
Yeah.
And played a lot when I got traded there, and we just missed out by a point, missed the playoffs.
Man. Yeah. And how quickly after the trade, like, obviously there's a little bit of shock, like you said, you're just having family time, and all of a sudden the phone rings. Were you able to regroup fairly quickly and get yourself refocused by the time you got out there?
You have no choice, really, do you?
Yeah.
Once I get to LA, like I left that next morning, we played that night. So actually, it was actually the best thing for me, to be quite honest, is to get right in the mix. Because I was on the flight early the next morning. I got a chance to go by the rink and just quickly write a note on the whiteboard to the boys in Chicago. Yeah. And then you're gone and you're playing the next night.
Right.
So I think that was probably the best thing for me, because you don't really get a chance to think about things. You just kind of get in the mix and
get going.
Give her. Yeah.
I know my brother's obviously gone through that a few times, and typically, you're, because it happens so quickly, you're leaving the family behind.
Yep.
Did you find after a few days of getting out of that routine, not seeing them as much, was that tricky? Were they able to come out, or did they kind of have to stay back until the year ended?
They came out for a visit, and then they stayed back until the year ended.
Yeah.
But at that time, I think my son was in preschool, and my daughter would have been just a year old.
Right. Yeah.
So they stayed back, and then they came and they stayed with me in the hotel for a bit.
Yeah.
And that was a bit awkward, so they left, because it's just bad for everybody having them cooped up in a place like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they went back, and like you say, it's different, and you're still kind of just numb to the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how quickly it can happen, and like you said, having not gone through that before, it's quite a different, shocking experience. So
it is, especially when you have a family. Like, you just kind of, you feel like people don't understand what the wives go through when stuff like this happens. Like, it's easy for the players because you're going into a situation where, you're automatically going to have things in common with the people that you're going to work with.
Right.
You probably know or played with or played against tons of these guys, and they all kind of know each other. We all kind of know each other. But then you leave the family at home, and they got to deal with all the stuff that goes along with not having a husband at home.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's just so much that they have to battle through, and lots of adversity that they have to handle as well.
Absolutely. And when you showed up in LA, did you have any guys that you'd previously played with to kind of immediately hit the ground running with?
No.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I played against a lot of them, and but not anybody that I played with. No teammates I played with.
Yeah.
But they're all awesome guys. Like one of the guys, Derek Armstrong, I became really good friends with. Derek and I kind of had a lot in common as far as spending a lot of time in the American League and then getting our opportunity.
Yeah.
So Derek had a family that was quite the same age as mine, and so we kind of hit it off that way early on.
That's great. And so, if I remember correctly, it was a 2-year deal that you were on before. So, are you a free agent again now after this?
After that, I'm a free agent, but then the lockout happens.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is just the crappiest thing in the world. To take a year off in the middle of your prime just stinks. You'll never get that year back.
Yeah.
But it was a great opportunity. I made the best of it. I went to Berlin. Won a Dell championship there with
Oh, wow.
with the Polar Bears in Berlin.
Sweet.
Ole Kolzig was our goalie, which helps. So yeah, there's a couple of NHL guys went over. Eric Cole, who was in Carolina at the time, was over there. I was there. Ole was our goalie. And then we obviously on the other teams, Doug Waite was over there. There's a bunch of NHL guys that were over there. We ended up finding a way to scratch out a championship out of it.
Do you bring the family over too, or you just go by yourself?
No, because my son, they stayed home at that time. We had moved everything back to Spruce Grove because my contract was up.
Yeah.
And so he was in school.
Yeah.
And then it was because I stayed till Christmas at home, skated with Spruce Grove Saints for a bit. During the lockout, and then when had the opportunity there's injury in Berlin to take a spot over there and play the last half of the year there.
How'd you find? Obviously, there's a lot of NHL guys over there at the time, but did you find any sort of major differences? Obviously, bigger ice typically in Europe. How'd you find the game compared to the NHL game?
There's a lot of similarities, except the ice is so different. It's more defensive than you think. You think with the wide open ice, there's gonna be more offense, but it's not really. We played the Torpedo, which was I don't know if you're familiar with that forecheck combination.
I've heard of it, but I can't remember it off.
It's basically a four-man forecheck. Like it. Excuse me. It's crazy. Like you give up a lot of chances, but you're creating a lot of chances.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun to play, especially the way I play. Like I've never found myself below the other team's net more times in my life. Like. Yeah, so it was you're basically a four-man forecheck, and then the one guy gets used as a safety guy.
It's like a blitz.
That takes a ton of 2-on-1s.
Wow.
Like if you're back there, you're and they get it past you guys.
Yeah.
Man, you turn over pucks, you're way to the races.
Wow.
Yeah. So I worked that year anyway to win that thing.
Yeah, the blitz forecheck. Well, I mean, that's pretty amazing too to get the championship out of that. It's cool. Just an awesome experience. And then you're back. I'm assuming you're in Spruce for the off season, and now your NHL's back online, and you're looking to get back in the NHL. How did that come about?
So I was a free agent, and then I had a great experience in LA, and then they wanted to have me back, so I re-signed in LA.
Yeah.
At that point, played that year out. I didn't have a great year. Then there was an option for that second year, so I can end up they ended up not re-signing me, so I ended up signing in Boston next year.
Yeah. At
that point in Boston is when I honestly, Sean, I you felt something in your body.
Yeah.
I was not able to do things that I could regularly do, and what it was I couldn't put my finger on, but I felt like my game was slipping, and it was very gradual.
Yeah.
But there was something in my game that was kind of slipping.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit of a tremor in my one arm that started my run in my right arm, or my left arm, sorry. And that's where I saw my first neurologist, was in Boston.
Yeah.
And he diagnosed me with an essential tremor, which was no big deal. Lots of people have essential tremors, and it's not a big deal. It doesn't progress any further. From Boston, went to Bern, had my hip redone and stuff, so I didn't play a lot of games there. And then that's kind of when the body had enough.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2010.
Yeah, I mean, obviously an incredibly difficult thing to go through, especially being at that point in your career where you're still trying to push forward and keep going. You mentioned feeling the difference in your game on the ice. Were you also feeling a difference off the ice as well?
Yeah. It was funny. Well, it wasn't funny, but it's funny. It's funny now. You look back on it, and I'm trying to feed my daughter some food, and the food won't stay on the fork because my hand's shaking so much.
Yeah.
And at the time, you think, it's just a tremor. It's not a big deal. And like, now that I have it, I know lots of people that have just essential tremors.
Yeah.
But then, there's just things that are happening with my body. And, we're so, like, as athletes, you're so in tune with your body.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know exactly what the performance level would be like. And there's a very gradual, I can't put my finger on exactly it, but just things that I couldn't quite do anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't, and again, like, it wasn't, and no one else could see it, but you're darn right I could feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you're now how about retiring? Like, I mean, obviously that just has to be for anybody. It's a really difficult transition. It's a major crossroads. How was the process of retiring?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I wanted to go out because
Yeah.
I mean, I had my hip redone in Bern
Yeah.
when I was there, and then I came back, and I had plans on trying to rehab it to try to get back.
Yeah.
Because I think that's because I didn't want to go like that.
Right.
But as things kind of moved on in the off season, in the summer, things weren't progressing like I wanted them to. Then I got into finance right away. So
Yep.
I got involved with the investors group and
Yep.
started doing some investing stuff with them. I went to a bunch of courses and did a bunch of schooling with them.
Yeah.
Worked with them for a little bit, and then I found wanted to get back into hockey.
Yeah.
So the old trainer of mine, Norm Lacombe, and I, we got into a business that opened up in Leduc, hockey impact training. Did that for a while. It didn't pan out so well. And I was fortunate enough to get in touch with Jeff Jones, which is your and I's boss right now.
Yep.
And it was awesome. Like, I knew Jeff from years ago. I played against him in midget. I went and spoke at Don in school back probably 1 year ago in there, maybe a little before, a little after.
Yeah.
But it was a great opportunity for me to get involved again, and I've been there ever since.
What do you think led you to that route versus maybe getting into coaching? You say finance, maybe even being family agent, advisor, that kind of thing. What led you to, obviously the strength and conditioning first?
The kids.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed working with the kids. I think maybe I've always known that with my dad being in education.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The kids really were a big draw for me, and I wanted to help with them as much as I could, and just kind of take my knowledge, take my experiences, and kind of help them along the way as best I could.
Now, was that something that you were kind of feeling for the first time? I know, through my hockey career, there was, a couple times a year we'd have a community event where we go and help minor hockey kids. So you had some exposure to coaching. It certainly wasn't a lot. For me, a lot of it was having a younger brother who was playing hockey and having to mentor and coach him throughout the years. But when I got into coaching, it was still the same thing. It wasn't like it was super clear. I could see where some of that influence had come from in the past. But was it something that you just kind of had to try out and feel, or was it kind of clear in your mind before you started it?
It was very clear in my mind as I started,
yeah.
Like, as I got on the ice and I got to work with kids, like, for me now, not being able to go on the ice is the worst, because I just love being on the ice and being able. Right now, my balance and the way things are with my health just doesn't allow me to do it.
Yeah.
But I used to love getting on the ice and helping and being a part of their development and helping them in any way that I could. So that was a big part of it. So to answer your question, Sean, I knew pretty much from that point on that this is something that I want to try to, if I can, try to make a career out of it, or a job, some sort of job out of it. Yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
And I know that you did some bench coaching as well with the Maple Leafs for several years. When you look at that, do you find much of a difference between? I mean, obviously they do have their overlap, but they have their differences. Do you find that the development work maybe is a little bit more exciting to you than the bench coaching, or are they kind of equal?
They both have their advantages for sure. They both have their exciting parts. I like the fact of being part of a team. Yeah. And seeing them develop and seeing how that team develops over the year. But I don't think there's any. I think being a skills guy is much more difficult. Yeah. And it provides much more thinking and strategizing and being able to think on your feet. Right. And so there's perks to everything, to both sides, to be honest with you. I like being a part of both, to be honest. But the way things are right now, we'll see how it goes.
And with Norm, it was you guys were doing some off-ice training, but also working some skills into it as well, right?
Yeah, so Norm did most of the off-ice. I was more the on-ice kind of skills guy. Right. We did tons of stuff with Leduc, with Leduc minor hockey, because we were based out of Leduc. Right. And tried to do as much as we can. I was still involved at that time at Spruce Grove, at the hockey program in Spruce Grove that was running through the public system there. I knew Barry Midori from years back. He was one of the main guys that was in charge of the hockey program at that time. Yeah. So it was nice being able to, like I said, go on the ice a lot back in those days. Like you're very familiar with going and just helping the kids out with 3 or 4 sessions a day.
Yeah, totally.
Back to your finance or time in finance. Like, how did that job present itself to you?
Well, my advisor that was involved with IG for years approached me and just when I was retired and said, "Hey, do you know what you're going to do?" And I said, I don't really know. And I've always been interested in that kind of stuff, but got involved with them, and it's a great company. But I just think it wasn't up my alley. I wanted to try to get back in hockey.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a point. Like, it's like your relationships you made during hockey led to everything that kind of has come to fruition now, like your trainer from junior and
playing against Jeff.
Like, I think sports can be more than just the competition. It's like the people you meet, the camaraderie, the just things that help you later that you don't think of at the time.
I think if there's one thing anybody can take out of that, is exactly that. With sports in general, just helps with building relationships, helps with your going through adversity, you're having to battle through stuff. Any sport in general at all is going to help you. It's going to build those relationships where you never know. Like, I'm a perfect example. It comes around full circle. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, and do you find, obviously you've been at Vimy for a long time now, do you find it really resonates with a lot of the things that you enjoyed about your years in minor hockey and participating in youth sports? So we talked about it earlier, the multi-sport. It's not hockey all the time. It seems to really align with a lot of the things that were beneficial to the way you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's funny because I'm the head of the hockey program, but most of the time I'm not on the ice and I'm not singing on the ice, and I try to help them. I try to ask them questions about anything but hockey.
Right. Yeah.
You try to make it enjoyable for them to come to school. You want them to enjoy what they're doing. What you want them is along with you guys that are on the ice, help them have fun and enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
But to ask them, personal stuff about how they're doing. Like, do you play other sports? Do you get involved? Like, how many of you guys are playing on the basketball team? How many of you guys are playing on the volleyball team?
Yeah.
There's so many other sports out there, and there's so many things you can take away from that thing. And I think that's definitely a great asset of ours.
Yeah, for sure. There's a really good balance
Yeah.
of that, and I mean, beautiful school, all those other great team, a lot of good people that are working there, from the teachers to all the staff that we have at AAD. It's a great environment all the way around, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, we're very lucky to be a part of it, for sure.
How big do you think the impact has been for your, not only your program at Vimy Ridge, but just these types of schoolings and programs in general? How much of the impact do you think have you guys had on the youth and versus just kids just doing the traditional public school chain, and going to school and not really having that focus on, I guess, physical fitness?
I think that's the biggest part, Taylor, is the fact that every single day at our school they're going to get a couple hours of physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that's really lacking in the traditional school, is that they might get 45 minutes of phys ed 3 times or every third day.
Yeah.
There's just not enough of a focus on that, and it can be. And we've really seen a lot of the effort that we've done to them really help their scholastic, and that's a big part of it, is that they're able to focus in class after getting a couple hours of physical activity,
Mm-hmm.
and that focus in school really helps them benefit for their grades as well.
I like your point there, where you're looking to create better humans, almost more than just purely hockey. Like, hockey's almost obviously it's a goal, it's a tool, but you're trying to expand their potential in every way you can.
Well, let's be honest. Like, none of our kids are going to play in the NHL. If there's one of them that does, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
But everybody's going to be a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of people do you want to have? Being able to get a job, being able to be a good person, being able to be a good teammate in school or in your career. That's really the focus of ours.
Yeah, that's
Making
great.
sure that they're prepared for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think to your point too, Taylor, like, Donnan started 25-ish years ago, and then branched into Donnan Still Exists, and we help them out once a week and rotate with them. And then Vimy obviously came along, but you're seeing this model that was started there in a lot of other schools in different parts of the city. So I think, not only for us, but, other schools and programs have seen the benefit of creating an environment that was, kind of pioneered by the group at Donnan, which is pretty cool. Big
time. Yeah. I really feel like it benefits a lot of kids, which is, it doesn't really matter where you go. If you can get if you feel like you want a bit more physical activity and you feel like that's what suits your personality, then there's a place for you to go get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's interesting to your point too, like having done a few interviews with the kids last year, I was really amazed. The question I posed to them was, how do you like the setup at Vimy versus compared to even if you were in elementary school and you were just a full-time student.
Right.
And, I was kind of expecting a lot of them to say, well, it's super fun that I get to play hockey and I get to have some phys ed, and like the phys ed variety that we have is awesome. Like there's just so many different things for them to do, but probably 75 to 85% of them, the first thing they responded to that was, I'm a better student because of this setup. I can focus, like you said, focus better when I'm in class. I have a few less classes to manage, and I'm able to, pay attention and dive into those a little bit more. It was a really awesome response to hear, but not necessarily something I was expecting to hear from them.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's what their response was for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we're kind of coming to the end here. I don't know if you guys have any last questions, but Maddie, Taylor?
No, it's you had a great journey, and what you're doing now with the program at Vimy is pretty amazing. And I mean, you guys just summed it up. Like, it just seems that maybe overloading kids with schoolwork might not be the answer, but having that fine balance of what it takes to be a good person and a healthy person is a good mix of not only brain development but physical activity too is huge in today's society, I think.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I wish is that they had this when we were growing up. Right. I know Shawnee got to be involved with Don a little bit
for part of it, yeah.
But I mean, I wish they had that kind of thing when I was playing. It would have been an awesome asset for me. Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, for sure. Well, Demmer, we really appreciate you coming in today, and thank you so much for your time. It's been an awesome conversation, and yeah, it was great getting to know you even better, and we really enjoyed it. Well, I enjoyed being here for sure, but I wish I would have got to talk more golf with Matt. We'll have to have you back on. Yeah. And next time will be the golf focus. Golf focus part 2. I mean, we won't want to focus on my game, but we'll focus on my love of the game. So that'll be which I think is the important part for exactly everybody is the love of the game, which you mentioned kind of kept you going, and I think it's just a great message for everyone is you have to love the game first. Exactly. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
To help support the community, please visit our website at usports.community and follow us at usportscommunity on all social media.
You can also follow and rate our podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Audible. Subscribe and like our video feed on YouTube.
Links for all our platforms can be found in the show notes.
Best way to help grow the U-Sports community is to comment on and share our content with your fellow parents and athletes.
This episode was produced by Nick Hussey of Hussey Multimedia, and hydration was provided by Earthwater.
The youth sports community is proudly presented by Nuance Hockey and Ma Golf.
Nuance Hockey provides detail-driven on- and off-ice development in the Edmonton area. For more information, please visit our website at nuance.hockey and follow us on social media.
Ma Golf provides elite coaching for golfers of all skill levels at the Millwoods Golf Club in Edmonton. Our apparel is provided by Burton Barley, prairie-inspired, golf-focused. To receive 15% off your next order, please visit burtonbarley.com and use our promo code YSC15.
We look forward to you joining the community next time.